The rain poured like the sky itself was mourning. Daniel's hands trembled as he clutched the envelope, his termination letter, the words "position no longer required" burning into his soul. Hours ago, he had been a man with purpose, a steady paycheck, a plan. Now, as he stood on that cold city street with nothing but despair, he heard it, the faint cry of a woman from across the road. In that instant, a decision that would cost him everything or awaken something greater than he had ever known was about to be made. Daniel Carter had always believed in structure. Wake at 6, coffee at 7, work till 6, dinner by 8. Life was predictable, safe, and colorless. He worked as a senior accountant at Morgan & Vail Holdings, a company that valued numbers more than people. But today, everything changed. His boss had looked at him with the same sterile smile he'd worn for years and said, "Daniel, the company's restructuring. We appreciate your service, but your position's been made redundant." Just like that, 15 years of loyalty evaporated into corporate air. Daniel walked out in disbelief, his mind fogged with the sound of rain tapping on the glass door as it closed behind him. The city lights blurred through his tears. He didn't know whether to scream, cry, or just keep walking. He wandered aimlessly, lost in his thoughts, until a sudden screech of tires jolted him back to reality. Across the street, a woman was stumbling near the edge of the curb, clutching her chest. Cars swerved, horns blared, chaos in motion. Without thinking, Daniel dropped his briefcase and sprinted across the road. Rain soaked through his suit as he knelt beside her. "Hey, stay with me," he shouted. The woman's face was pale, her breathing shallow. She whispered something, "My bag, insulin." Before collapsing completely, Daniel tore through her purse, hands shaking, until he found the insulin pen. He didn't know much about medicine, but instinct and desperation guided him. He injected it just as a bystander called for an ambulance. Moments later, paramedics arrived and rushed her away. Daniel, drenched and breathless, stood in the rain as the flashing lights faded. He had no idea who she was, just that something deep inside him had shifted. He went home that night to his small, silent apartment. No job, no plan. Yet, for the first time in years, he felt alive. The next morning, a soft knock echoed through his apartment door. When he opened it, a well-dressed man stood holding a card. "Mr. Carter? My employer would like to thank you personally for what you did last night." Daniel blinked, confused. "Employer?" The man smiled. "Miss Elena Vail. You saved her life." The name hit him like a jolt of electricity. Vail, the daughter of Richard Vail, CEO of the same company that had fired him hours before. Elena Vail had grown up in a world made of glass, luxurious, fragile, and dangerously disconnected. Her family owned skyscrapers, charities, and a reputation that sparkled across headlines. But behind those marble walls, Elena was just another lonely soul battling her own frailty, a rare condition that made her life unpredictable. When she woke in the hospital, the first thing she asked was, "Who saved me?" The nurse smiled softly. "A man named Daniel Carter." She frowned. "Carter, from our finance division?" Hours later, Elena invited Daniel to visit her. He arrived awkwardly dressed, holding a small flower from the park, the only thing he could afford. She smiled faintly as he entered. "You didn't have to come," he said quietly. "You didn't have to save me," she replied. "But you did." "What?" Daniel looked down, his voice heavy. "Because no one else did." That answer stayed with her. Days passed, and Elena insisted on repaying him, offering a job, money, anything, but Daniel refused. "I didn't do it for reward," he said. "I did it because you needed help." For a woman born into privilege, it was the first time someone had shown her kindness without expecting something in return. That truth cracked something open inside her. Weeks later, Elena visited the community center Daniel volunteered at, a small, crumbling shelter he had joined after losing his job. There, she saw children laughing, old men playing chess, single mothers sharing meals, and Daniel, smiling for the first time in years. He had lost his career, but found purpose. And through him, Elena found her humanity again. She began funding the shelter anonymously, restoring its walls, buying supplies, and sponsoring education for dozens of children, all without taking credit. As Daniel watched the center bloom, he felt a warmth that money could never buy. But when he learned who the anonymous donor was, his heart broke and healed at once. A year later, the shelter stood shining like hope itself. Its new name, the Cartervale Foundation. Daniel had been offered countless jobs since then, but he stayed, helping the lost, the broken, and the forgotten. Elena visited often, quietly joining the children's art classes, hiding her illness behind soft smiles. But one evening, she collapsed again. This time, Daniel was there. He rushed her to the hospital, refusing to leave her side. For days, she lay unconscious. Daniel prayed, for the first time in decades, that she would wake up. When she finally opened her eyes, she whispered, "You saved me twice, but you've given me more than life, Daniel. You gave me meaning." Tears filled his eyes. "You gave me that too." Months later, Elena called a press conference. The media gathered, expecting another corporate announcement. Instead, she stood before the cameras, frail but radiant, and said, "Last year, a man who had nothing saved me, and in doing so, reminded me what it means to be human. Today, I'm stepping down from my position to dedicate my life to kindness, because that's the only real wealth we have." The world called her the billionaire of compassion, but Daniel just called her Elena. Years passed, and though her illness eventually claimed her, her legacy lived on through every life the foundation touched. And Daniel, once a man lost in routine, became the voice of hope for thousands, proving that one act of kindness can echo for generations. Moral of the story: true wealth isn't measured in money. It's found in the hearts we heal, the lives we touch, and the kindness we give when we have nothing left to offer. Sparkling Heart.